4 Python services were running live, handling Gmail parsing, Telegram messages, and a Postgres database, and I let Claude Code touch all of them at once. If you're a solo founder managing production systems with no dev team and no rollback budget, you need to know exactly what this tool does before it edits a file that breaks something at 2 a.m. I'll show you what Claude Code actually is when you point it at a real multi-service system, not a clean tutorial repo. Most demos show it writing a fresh script from scratch. I'll show you what happens when it reads an existing codebase with interdependencies and makes changes that go straight to production. I'm Lazar. I run these systems daily for clients on my own server. Let me show you the part nobody else warns you about. So what is Claude Code really? It's a terminal native agent that reads your entire codebase and then makes changes, not a chat window where you paste snippets. Not an IDE plugin that auto-completes one line. It runs in your terminal. It reads every file in the directory you point it at, and then it can edit those files, run your tests, commit to Git, and chain multiple actions together. That distinction matters way more than people realize, and here's why. Every demo you've seen online shows Claude Code pointed at a fresh repo, maybe a starter template, maybe a single Python script. In that context, it's a coding assistant. It writes a function. You run it, everybody claps. But when you point it at a live system, 4 Python services that talk to each other, where one service passes Gmail messages and forwards them to Telegram, another one manages a Postgres database, another one handles an invoicing API. It stops being a coding assistant. It becomes an operations engineer that can make changes to running infrastructure. And that's either incredibly useful or incredibly dangerous depending on how you set it up. Let me show you what actually happens. Here's the terminal. I'm inside a WSL Ubuntu environment on my home server. You can see 4 service directories. Each one is a separate Python application that runs as a background process. One handles Gmail to Telegram forwarding. One does lead scoring. One manages invoice data. One orchestrates the others. They share a Postgres database. They share a Postgres database. They share configuration files. They have interdependencies. If service A changes a database schema, service B breaks. This is the kind of system a solo founder or small agency ends up with after 6 months of shipping. Not clean, not theoretical. Real running code with real traffic. Now watch what happens when I launch Claude Code in this directory. The first thing it does, and this is important, is it reads. It doesn't immediately start writing code. It reads the file structure. It reads your README if you have one. And critically, it reads a file called CLAUDE if one exists. This CLAUDE.md file is the single most important file in your entire repo when you're using Claude Code. And almost nobody talks about it because almost nobody runs Claude Code on a system complex enough to need it. Let me show you what's in mine. It's about 180 lines. It defines service boundaries. Which directory owns what? Which service is allowed to touch the database? Which one is not? It lists WSL-specific constraints, path mappings, environment variables that only exist on this server, the fact that the Postgres instance runs on a specific port that's different from default. It has explicit rules like never modify production.env and run the test suite in service directory before committing. These aren't suggestions. Claude Code treats this file as its operating manual. Without it, the agent guesses. And when it guesses about your production environment, it guesses wrong in ways that are very expensive. Now let me show you a real task. I'm going to ask Claude Code to add a new Telegram command to one of the services. Specifically, I want a /summary command that pulls the last 24 hours of activity from the database and sends a formatted report to Telegram. Watch what happens. Claude Code reads the existing Telegram handler file. Then it reads the database models file. Then it reads the configuration file to understand how the bot is initialized. It's building context across multiple files before it writes a single line. That cross-file understanding is what makes this fundamentally different from a chat assistant. It knows that the database model for activity logs is defined in a specific file, and it knows the Telegram handler expects a specific function signature because it read both files in the same session. Now here's where it gets honest. Claude Code wrote the function, and it looked correct, but it referenced a path, home/user data's logs, that doesn't exist on this WSL setup. On WSL Ubuntu, the path is /mnt/data/ because the data lives on a Windows drive mounted through WSL. If you want to see the actual systems we build for clients, custom AI automations, integrations, and the kind of multi-service setup I just showed you, go to bizflowai.io. Hit subscribe and ring the bell so the next breakdown finds you. And if you have a workflow you want automated, book a free 30-minute discovery call at bizflowai.io. We'll map it out together.